So, hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Thank you very much, very well. And thanks a lot that you find time for this interview.
Hmm?
I know
Oh,
that you are a really brilliant polyglot, and I have just five common questions for you. The first of all, how many languages do you know, and how many languages can you speak fluently?
oh. It's a very common question. It's one that I'd love to be able to give you a very simple answer for, but unfortunately, it's difficult because I've studied over 30 languages in
Hmm.
my life.
Oh.
But I tend to leave individuals to decide whether or not I speak the language. Um, I could certainly get by in maybe 20, I don't know, but it's it speaking about fluency is always relative.
Hmm.
Uh, there are a number that I can speak to varying degrees, from near native fluency, right the way down to intermediate, and obviously there are some at basic level.
Uh-huh.
But it's very difficult to judge, and when you're juggling so many languages,
Yeah.
um, obviously you're not always practicing every single one, and you're not always in the same country,
Hmm.
and so it changes.
And did you learn all of them on your own or no?
Well, no, not really. Um, the ones that I speak to a very, very high level, ones that I've learned in the country and I've lived in the country, worked or studied in the language, and then others I've studied at university, and others I've studied on formal courses or some on my own as well. But yeah, I like to do a mix really. There's not one set way that I've learned a
Mm-hmm.
language. Um, Obviously, there are techniques that I like to employ to learn,
And
but there are definitely different motivations and different reasons for learning each one.
and do you have your own methods, or you always use traditional methods like alphabet, then grammar, then learning words, or etc.
Well, I wouldn't say that I stick to one method
Mm-hmm.
that's written down, for example, like a book or a course,
Yeah.
or exclusively. I think that every learner is different, and that we all need to actually learn how we learn, is a key part of language learning. Um, one method might work for one person, another method might work best for another
Yeah.
person. And so I tend to adapt things to the way I learn. And I mean, that's kind of what I do. And I try and, in the language community online, I try and encourage people to do the same thing. And I'll try and help them to learn the best way that they can learn too.
Okay. And the other questions which very interested for me. What do you do for not forgetting languages you've learned?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we touched on that a little bit in the first question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's true that once you get past a certain number of languages, I'd
Mhm,
say once you get past, say, 10,
mhm,
it starts getting a bit trickier to keep them all at the same level and to not
mhm.
forget things or to lose fluency. Maybe we say in English that it gets rusty,
Yeah.
but it is a challenge. There are different
Mhm,
ways to do it nowadays. There's the internet, which we have, and we can watch TV. For example, via my iPad, I've
mhm,
got TV channels in different languages. I actually work in a variety of languages, so I have contact in different language with different languages too. And for that work, I need to sort of read and listen to and be aware of a wide range of languages. In fact.
mhm.
Um, so I study actively. I tend to use languages a lot in my daily life anyway, just because of where I live and because of my family situation. I use maybe about 7 languages on a daily basis anyway.
So now I can say that you are really usual person, not unique, because lots of people think that polyglot it's something I don't know unique people, but I think that you just work very hard every day.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of it's to do with putting in the hours, putting in the work. In fact, people say how many hours do I work
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah.
studying languages? Well, I don't really count them. I think that anyone can really go for it and do it if they want to. And that's the key thing. It's the motivation and really wanting to do it. Because when I study a language, an hour feels like a minute. So I kind of get lost in it. And my free time is spent studying or listening, keeping up languages.
And the last question for you. I know that your daughter can speak several languages. How old is she now, and how many languages does she know?
Okay, she's 5 years old.
Oh.
And her first languages are English, Macedonian, and French. She speaks English now with me. When she was born, I spoke to her in English and French. When we lived in the UK, we spoke in French together. Now she studies through the medium of French, so we speak in English. She speaks in Macedonian to her mum, and then for about 4 years now. So she was 16 months old when I started speaking to her 1 hour a day in German and 1 hour a day in Spanish. And we just do play together or just general things around the house, but we only speak Spanish or only speak German just for that hour. And we do that every day.
Very interesting theme. Especially for me, because I have a child too.
Children sort of, it's more natural, I think. They tend to pick up as they get older. You notice that children pick up on the cultural barriers that sort of stop all adults picking up languages and learning languages. The feelings of I can't do it, or I don't want to be different, or I only want to speak one language, or to be like my friends. There are all of these things that people learn over years, especially if you come from a country with a very dominant language, like, for example, Russia with Russian, or the UK with English, or France with French, German, etc. They're very strong identities, very strong languages, and very strong cultures. And sometimes that can be a barrier to get over. And you notice it with children too. There are other countries, like, for example, Macedonia, where the society is very open to people speaking other languages, and it's seen as a really good thing if a child's speaking, especially, for example, English, French, Spanish, German. Nobody here is going to make a negative comment ever. It would always be very positive, and it's very positive reinforcement, and that's really important, especially when bringing up a multilingual child.
Very, very interesting. Thanks a lot for your answers. It was really interesting.
And, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that you're coming in Moscow to speak at the International Language Conference. So, see you at the conference.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it too. All the best.
Yeah,
bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.